Now listen, everybody grab hold of something sturdy, right? What I'm about to tell you might take the wind out your knees. It appears that Trump's tariff plan won't in fact make goods cheaper. According to the nation's largest retailer, it in fact will make them go up. I mean, who would have thought that Orange Jesus might have been lying all along?
Hey, good morning, Michael. Walmart, which is the world's biggest retailer, tells us it is worried that higher tariffs under the Trump administration could lead to higher prices for consumers at a time when many households are still feeling the effects of lingering inflation. And those warnings from retailers are prompting some shoppers to take action now.
My K-Beauty, J-Beauty makeup.
This morning, TikTokers are warning their followers of possible price hikes for favorite products.
If you were planning to make a big purchase in 2025, say a new car, a computer, a washing machine, a refrigerator, something like that, I would urge you to make that purchase now.
Or risk paying higher prices if tariffs go into effect, one of President-elect Trump's signature promises.
I'm working on my pre-tariff list today. I know that I have enough soap already to get me through the next administration.
That's right, folks. It appears that Trump's tariff plan that he once tried to explain while dropping trinkets of profound wisdom, such as childcare is childcare.
Childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country. Because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about.
Childcare is childcare.
Not going to be the inflation shrinker he led his followers to believe he would be. Well, not according to the nation's largest retailer, Walmart, who just put out a report this week suggesting that prices could increase if tariffs rise, saying, quote, "We are concerned that significantly increased tariffs could lead to increased costs for our customers at a time when they are still feeling the remnants of inflation." This was from a Walmart spokesperson, and I think I'll respond on behalf of the other half of the country, and I'll say, where the hell was your 2 cents last month, mate? Or the month before, when this opinion may have been relevant?
The byproduct of tariffs, that in fact happens. It does happen, doesn't it? I mean, I've been grappling with this with folks like yourself on the air here because it was long-held conservative orthodoxy for the last 30, 40, 50 years that tariffs do just that. Why is it all now changed here? The tariffs don't do this. Or do they still? But what are we hearing?
Tariffs on all products coming into the U.S. and 60% on goods from China. Big retailers like Walmart and Lowe's are now warning those higher import costs could force them to raise prices for customers. Small businesses are worried too.
With these tariffs is really going to be higher cost me, and ultimately it's going to fall on the shoulders of the consumer.
The National Retail Federation says clothes, toys, furniture, household appliances, footwear, and travel goods are at risk. The retail group estimates the price of a $40 toaster oven could go up to $52 with Trump's tariffs. A $50 pair of sneakers could cost you $64. So should you make those purchases now?
There's no reason to panic. So tariffs, they don't take effect immediately. So even if President Trump signs an executive order on day one, you're looking towards the tail end of next year, early 2026, before you start to see these prices when you go out shopping.
Now, to be fair to them, I'm not sure how much it would have moved the needle considering countless economic powerhouses came out in favor of Kamala Harris. But it did little to shift the tide, an insurmountable task for her when you consider the fact that blind polls showed Republicans favored her policy when they didn't know it was hers. It's giving me Affordable Care Act versus Obamacare flashbacks of when Republicans coined it as Obamacare, knowing swaths of their base were just that bigoted that they'd vote against it, and if it meant voting against their own self self-interest. Now, Trump has made it no secret that tariffs, which are a fraction of US tax collections, were central to his economic agenda, floating the idea of 60% tariffs on China, the world's largest exporter, and universal tariffs of 10% or more, which he says is necessary to eliminate the US trade deficit. Not only are economists in the US warning that this is not the case, allies are already taking steps to prepare for what could be a trade war.
Au fond, moi je trouve que notre rôle ici ou au sein de l'Union européenne, c'est pas de commenter l'élection de Donald Trump, savoir si c'est bon ou pas bon. Il a été élu par le peuple américain et il va défendre l'intérêt des Américains. Et c'est légitime et c'est une bonne chose. La question, c'est est-ce que nous, on est prêt à défendre l'intérêt des Européens? C'est la seule question qui nous est posée. Et moi, je pense que c'est notre priorité. Et donc, ça ne doit être ni dans un transatlantisme qui serait naïf, ni dans la remise en cause de nos alliances, ni non plus dans un nationalisme étriqué qui ne nous permettrait pas de relever ce défi face à la Chine, aux États-Unis d'Amérique.
And Oxford Economics estimated a 60% China tariff could boost US inflation by 0.7 percentage points. And across the board tariffs would, yes, boost inflation.
Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
So let's move to your second chart about what a Trump plan would actually do to the economy if implemented the way he's pitching it.
Yeah, so why are these economists so opposed to Trump's plan? Because the economic effects would be pretty terrible. This is a study done by Bloomberg Economics, and they found that Harris's plan did not have much change in either the GDP or inflation, which in a sense is a good thing at this point. But look at what Trump's plan would do. Trump's plan would cut the GDP by 8.9%. And let me put that in perspective for you. This is roughly twice the amount that the GDP went down during the financial crisis.
Wow.
So we would be looking at something between a recession and a depression. And interestingly, as I'm sure people know because we've talked about this many times, the tariffs would cause certainly a part of this. But the biggest cause, actually, of this drop are the mass deportations that Trump is talking about, because he would take huge pieces of our labor force out of the country, send them back or send them somewhere else, and the result would be business wouldn't have labor. They wouldn't be able to produce things, and you'd have this enormous economic contraction. So this is something we've never seen before in terms of scoring a set of policy proposals from a presidential candidate. The other reason why Harris seems to be doing better or maybe doing better for her economic thoughts relative to Trump is maybe people are figuring out what's actually in these two plans. And one of the most important things in these two plans are the differences in their tax proposals. Harris's tax proposal would raise incomes for people at the bottom 20%, for people in the 20 to 40% percentile by fairly significant amounts. She would raise taxes for people at the higher incomes down here, in the 99 to 100 and the 95 to 99. Trump does the opposite. He raises after-tax incomes for people at the highest incomes up here. And believe it or not, if you're at the bottom, Trump's tax plan would actually increase your taxes slightly. So maybe people are figuring out these kinds of differences and changing their view of her economic plan versus Trump's economic plan.
Now listen, I know this is frustrating you, the Midas Mighty, as it is me, but misery loves company. So how about we just add to it? This study from the Washington Post just came out saying that a month ago, nearly 2/3 of Republicans said that their economic situation was worse than a year ago. One Trump victory later, and voila, fewer than half do. You know what? The tolerance for snake oil will soon wear off, especially when consumers see Walmart prices. And we'll be here to tell you why.
Well, I think we just make it very clear. Tariffs add to the price of goods. It's really that simple. If you're a business and you need to import things and you have to pay a tariff, you have to make that extra expense up. It's interesting to me that Donald Trump brags about how he's the only president who wants to have skyrocketing tariffs. You got to stop and think about why that is. It's because other presidents, both Republican and Democrat, understand that tariffs ultimately are really damaging to a country's economy. They make it more difficult for us to compete, and they would push inflation up. So Donald Trump's economic policy here is a disaster, and you don't have to take it from me. As you said earlier, Lawrence, Goldman Sachs, not exactly a bastion of liberal progressive economic policy themselves, have said that Donald Trump's tariff policies would cost our economy billions.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.